Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
Come.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, what a time to be a fan in Duval. Everything is up high. Everybody is talking about the Duval, ironically, because they love Liam Cohen. There's just so much going on. And of course, we have the joy of early comments from two dudes named Rob. Of course, Robert Lambertson in the building to open up to give a good evening to Duval. And of course, to Robbie Santos asking us, what's up? What's up with you, man? What's going on? And a friggin' ball in the comments. You got to love it. But listen, here's the thing. I find too often that it's interesting, Travis. You're the one that owns the This Shirt Makes Me Drinks t-shirt, two of them. But it's my turn to bring, t-shirts. This is the night we bring the sober to everything that's going on. And I get it. All y'all Duval fans out here went from talking to like, when will this team ever be good, to we are inevitable. Settle down, Thanos. Let's make sure you don't lose in the Marvel universe here and become a depressing end. And listen, I get it. Thanos wins the Infinity War in most of the universes. But I think what Travis and I are here to explore is the one universe where it still could go very wrong for Duval and all y'all. And we don't want to see it, but let's be realistic about it. And I got to say something out of the gate. And listen, friend of the show, Dan Griffiths, there's my bell. Fan of the show, Dan Griffiths, went to tweeting out O-line stats and things like that, and I saw all the talk. I didn't come prepared enough for this. I didn't realize I was going to reference DG. That's my bad. We'll show don't tell plenty later. I trusted that. You got the new intro. Come on, divers. Anyways, but I'm starting to see stats about, 0 sacks allowed. Travis, that's happened 4 times this season. Yeah. I'm willing to bet I can pick the 4 teams that it was, or at least the ones that it probably wasn't. And I'm willing to bet those were all games where the Jags looked the worst. And, shall we say, the current Thanoses were at one point, let's just say, I don't know, what's a minor villain that looked like a punk? Red Skull? I don't know.
I don't know. You're getting too deep into the Marvel universe, but I don't know.
No,
I don't know none of these guys.
Are showing or getting it, but the punchline's this. The O-line did show out and did a great job against a weakened Colts team. And I would imagine they could likely do the same against the Jets. We'll get into that Friday when we preview that game as well. But I'm still incredibly concerned about what happens in the playoffs when the Jags playoffs. What happens when they face the Broncos, for example? What happens in the playoffs when they come across real competition? I think that's one thing we need to talk about if we're going to talk about the Jags as a threat. Robert comes in Beast Boy. He's not a villain technically, but I see where you're going with being kind of the butt of the joke. But no,
I mean, you already mentioned the 0 sacks given up. That also no quarterback hits on Lawrence. Like, there was an incredible performance recently from the front 5 for the Jaguars. And I wanted to just give a quick shout out to Ezra Cleveland. And I know this is talking about pass protection and everything else. I get it, but Ezra Cleveland's a pretty dang dominant so far, like this year. I don't, if you've been paying attention in run blocking, you know what I'm talking about. But also his pass protection. Hey, man, Ezra Cleveland on this play is just straight throwing dudes out the club. Like, and you may have missed it because everybody's focused on the routes, they're focused on the quarterback catching the ball, throwing the ball and everything. But Ezra Cleveland is just opening the lane. Like, this looks like that Kansas City Chiefs play when Trevor Lawrence falls down. When Trevor Lawrence falls down, gets back up, and Ezra Cleveland is just cleaning up everyone. Like, that is what that felt like to me. And I wanted to make sure I give him his flowers before we have the more difficult conversation surrounding primarily the left tackle. When we're having the difficult conversation, we are having the difficult conversation specific to that position, whether it's Cole Van Lanen, whether it's Walker Little. Like, that's kind of what we're talking about. And also, I mean, just because I saw Tim Patrick, I just want to say that out loud. Dude had a perfect quarterback rating, a perfect passer rating throwing to Tim Patrick on Sunday. I just thought that was fascinating, especially after everything has been going on around Tim Patrick missing the ball on the late down play just last week to come back from that. I thought it was dope. But nevertheless, I just wrote an article on bitcatcountry.com. Please take a moment, go and check out the site. Tell me your own thoughts on this, because it's going to be a conversation, especially after Liam Cohen's presser earlier today, discussing, that the fact that Cole Van Lanen has, quote unquote, earned or has done enough to earn a starting position in the future. And he didn't say in the future. He didn't say he's earned this spot. He just said he's done enough to earn a starting position. And this conversation has already been happening in the Duval fan base. Like you guys, the Duvalian just said it. He wants Cole Van Lanen over Walker. Everybody's clamoring for a new left tackle based on like recent play. And I'm being real with y'all. I ain't trying to pour cold water on the conversation, but every time somebody plays well in this fan base, y'all want to bench somebody, whoever is there beforehand. The incumbent is always going to be benched if anybody else played well. Maybe not even better, but just well. Like it happened with Patrick McCarry and why Milam happened with Cole Van Lanen and Walker Little, like right now, but also with Dewey and Antonio Johnson. That one might have some legs, at least I'll acknowledge that. And then BTJ and Parker Washington. That was just a few weeks ago. The fan base was saying, "Nah, man, bench that dude and put Parker." And I'm like, bro, every time somebody plays well, they can just play well in the moment. That's okay. And you can still say, all right, the other guy the incumbent probably should be the one who's starting. Like, and I don't have a strong feel on this, but anyways, Cole Van Lanen, Walker Little. Let's talk about it. Wait, what was that?
Well, and I want to bring this in to clarify something, because the one cool. King David comes in saying, so wait, we've not faced real competition. I'm just asking. No, I'm not saying that, Dave. What I am saying is, from the O-line's perspective, the best competition, meaning the stronger O-lines that the Jags have played, generally
the stronger D-lines.
Correct. Specific to the D-lines, the stronger D-lines that the Jags have played are the games where the struggles were the biggest, right? I know that the Jags split with the Texans, and let's be honest, we're this close to sweeping them, but that first game was a dogfight. That second game, 20-point offensive comeback. That was a 26-point fourth quarter for the Texans, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to remind everybody of the Rams game, and I don't want to remind everybody of the Seahawks game, but those were all games where stronger D-lines where the Jags struggled the most. Am I going to the top of the board? Sure. Am I going to the place that the Jags won't see them until, they get to the Super Bowl that Duval has actually started to hint at, oddly enough? No, I get that. But still, I'm not here to say the Bills' defensive line is great. I do cite the Broncos as a threat. I think, let's be real, I think the Jags would wreck the Patriots. But, at the end of the day, I'm not saying they didn't face real competition. Crushing the Chargers is worthwhile, even though their O-line is wrecked. Doing what they did to the Colts in a weakened state was completely worthwhile. The Chiefs, even though the Texans just beat them too, is a admirable win on Monday night that has plagued this franchise. I'm just saying.
With all of those all of those teams you just named, basically the common thread is they're all weak in the weakened state. You've dominated the weakened teams you should dominate, but when you get to the tougher competition is when the Jaguars struggle. And I can agree. Like, again, I think the recency bias, I want to be clear. Like, when the Jaguars were having their struggles, it was also in some of the hardest competition that they were going to face. They are also now in some of the easiest competition they were going to face. And now everyone's like sky high. And me, I'm consistently never going to get too low. I'm never going to get too high. I want to always try to stay in the middle, because I feel like eventually you'll find the truth there. The recency bias right now has folks saying some wild things in these streets. Like, I'm going to be clear. Like, Walker Little has been playing pretty much comparable to Cole Van Lanen since the bye week. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. And I was like, like not the Cole Van Lanen piece, but just that Walker Little, no one had complained about him for 2 or 3 weeks straight. And now we're forgetting that happened because it's the level of competition. When the level of competition is low, the most part, Walker Little was playing great. And the level of competition is equally low right now. And Cole Van Lanen is playing great. And I'm just like, all right, Cole Van Lanen, to be clear, is playing great. He was a top 3 in the Jaguars of offense, behind Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. For Pro Football Focus grading this week. Like, he's been good, and he's been good for multiple weeks straight. But also, I want to say, just because you don't like what the previous guy did in his toughest competition does not mean that the other guy who's behind him is equally good. Like, there are levels to being good in this conversation. And I also wanted to note that because you feel like you're desperate. In my big cat country article, basically how I said it was desperation breeds innovation, but it can also breed gullibility. Like, you could be gullible or you could be inspired, and there's a very thin line between these two conversations. And that's all that I'm getting at is, hey man, Cole Van Lanen might be the guy, or he might just be a guy who's just dominating against subpar competition, and you're just switching him out just because you want anything that's not Walker Little. And I'm begging for people not to make that mistake,
because it's been made already, technically speaking, right? The legend of Walker Little, such that it is he has one awesome game against Micah Parsons, and people are shouting for Cam Robinson to get replaced. Now we're full circle, homie, and whatever Cole Van Lanen faced this past weekend, Travis, is not Trey Hendrickson. That's what I know.
That's fair. I mean, well, so when I was looking at the numbers, because I wanted to level set everything for the level of competition, I was like, well, no, Cole Van Lanen still has been giving up pressures in these games. It's just the fact that he's playing multiple different positions. Like, the fact of the matter is the Indianapolis Colts, like, I figured the team that has a lot of sacks are probably going to be the team that's getting more pressures, or, you know, the defense that's getting more pressures on your left tackle, because that's more often than not your more dominant pass rusher.
Correct.
Well, Cole Van Lanen has played against two top 10, pass rushing groups, just like Walker Little did. Walker Little struggled against the Houston Texans, but also so did Cole Van Lanen at playing left guard. And overall, I just think they both have been landing at that same general spot where they both struggle against high-level competition. They both are dominant against lower-level competition, and one of them, for me at least, Walker Little, gives you a little bit more, big, high-level splashes in the run game. So I'm just like, either they're the same or there might be a small edge to Walker Little, but honestly, I don't see as much of a difference. But I just think that there's two big groups right now in the fan base, and I wanted to kind of get your ear on which group you fall in, or neither of them, maybe, because I've talked to a lot of people, and it's basically those who believe Walker Little isn't great, but he's objectively the best option in 2025. Or, maybe there's the group that's like, hey man, give Walker Little, or give Cole Van Lanen a shot and see if he's better than Walker Little, because they've developed so many different players on this roster, whether that's Antonio Johnson, Devin Lloyd, Monteric Brown, everybody else in the new scheme, new coaches, everything else. Why not Cole Van Lanen? Maybe he can be a better guy than what we've seen in previous years. So maybe it could be him. Like, I don't know if you have an opinion on that. Like, which way would you go with a guy that you don't have as much information on, but maybe he has a higher level that we just haven't seen? Like, that's how they got Walker Little, to your original point.
Correct.
Or just going Walker Little because he's already been the one that kind of quote unquote earned this spot, and you kind of know what you're getting in the run game. Like, I don't know where you land.
No, and that's a good take. I think this is an opportunity to potentially, like, I would throw Cole Van Lanen out against the Jets, is what I would do. Okay, because I think that's a relatively good litmus test, and he does good there. Then you really test him, and you start him out against the Broncos and see what happens. I can certainly see that being an area, but I have a third thing that I would submit to this conversation, and an incredibly handsome and smart man very recently asked one Travis D. Holmes, maybe you know him, mentioned something we don't talk enough about, not just on this show, although you're the only person I've heard say it, but in the Duval space. We don't talk enough about this team, this coaching staff, specifically Liam Colvin and Udinsky as the offensive coordinator, and how good they've been at self-scouting. I think the matchup that they like should really determine everything. Granted, I answered the question the way I did because I'm not a punk. I wanted to answer the question that you actually asked and not hide behind self-scouting. But I think self-scouting is the actual correct answer here. I think that determines anything, because if they somehow think that Walker Little's a better blocker, let's say running the ball, they'll probably throw him out, certainly this weekend.
So this is interesting, because that's the other piece that I forgot to mention. You remember in training camp, they were having the competition at basically the entire dang offensive line. Like, people got so pissed off about it. Yeah, people got pissed off about it at one point. It was just chaos. But they were competing everywhere. And we forget the one guy that wasn't competing was Cole Van Lanen because he was hurt all training camp.
That's a
so
great
he point. At the time when they were figuring out what this was, he wasn't even in the competition because he couldn't be. So is there a true possibility that a guy is able to earn a starting spot in the middle of an NFL season simply because he just wasn't healthy?
According to Liam Cohen, absolutely. He's done enough.
So that's the other piece that I'm like, that makes this impossible for me to gauge. And I'm just kind of curious of where the coaching staff lands, because maybe they like that dude at the start and they just wasn't like. Actually, we have another example that's just like this. And I forgot. And literally, I'm thinking about this in the moment. Montaric Brown.
Oh,
snap. He was fighting for a position in the training camp with Jarian Jones, and everybody was like, "No, he's fighting for that third corner spot." No one thought about Montaric Brown actually fighting for a starting corner spot, because we're like, of course he's fighting for the third cornerback role, and then he gets healthy, and all of a sudden he's your starting corner, and no one's questioning it right now. By the way, like Montaric Brown's objectively your number one corner in all the ways, Buster Brown. So maybe that gives you a little bit of evidence to say, nah, man, maybe Cole Van Lanen truly is your starting left tackle, and folks just don't know it because they don't know how the coaching staff feels about that guy walking into this.
That's a great take. I really like that comparison. And who knew that we would be the perfect podcast designed to point that out as the O-line guy and the DB as host, but nonetheless, there you are. And I'm looking through the comments here. Yep. There's some comments here I wanted to throw out. Yeah, here we go. King David making the point that I think is ultimately true. There is a path to the Super Bowl. It's not the Jags that determine that. In my opinion, it's other AFC teams being Janet Jackson, which is to say thoroughly exposed by halftime. That
thoroughly exposed, Jesus.
Meaning, we said it last week, Travis, the top four, such as they were at the time, were the Pats, the Broncos, the Jags, and the then 6-6 Ravens. Yeah. I asked you if any of them felt like an actual Super Bowl contender, and you played your best Bishop Bullwinkle and said, hell to the no. No. So
no.
If that exists, there is a path, and that's where Dave's right.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, again, it's not so different than the Kansas City Chiefs last year. No one thought that team was good. They found a way to make it to the Super Bowl. They got boat raced, but no, they found a way to make it to the Super Bowl, and that was the point. And a lot of those same issues they had last year, they still have this year, but they had Mahomes, so they made it. And if you have a quarterback who's hot at the right time, ding, 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 maybe, then maybe the Jaguars can be in that spot. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse, because
Preston
Super
Bowl in the comments, by the way.
Super Bowl, I don't know if I want to get there just yet. I mean, we are skipping a little bit, but nevertheless,
listen, part of the reason another reason we had this conversation, I know you want to talk about this defense getting back in the game.
I do.
Turnovers, man. Go, please. Now's your time to shine.
I do. Turnovers are back on the menu, boys. And I'm always going to celebrate for as long as turnovers keep coming, because you kind of know that they can go away as soon as a team with a good defense like a Houston or a Denver just decides to play it safe on offense and play that whole ball control game like we saw earlier in the year, Seahawks, Rams, the first Houston game. And Devin Lloyd has been getting all the deserved love for his incredible play this season. He basically shut down the middle of the field. But I also wanted to shout out Eric Murray too, because he made this play, and it's like everybody keeps. Yeah, we got 2 turnovers. One of them didn't count really because Greg Newsome really shouldn't have counted as an interception. Yeah, whatever. It counts on the stat sheet. But no, Eric Murray with the turnover, with also Jordan Lewis snatching for the ball, which allows Eric Murray to get a punch on the ball without Jonathan Taylor even seeing him. Like, I don't know, like I caught that only on the second time around. He's pulling away from Jordan, who's trying to strip the ball. So then he getting the ball as Jonathan Taylor's trying to protect himself. While
what a heads up play. What a heads up play.
3-4 guys involved in that play.
Yeah.
And his first game back from injury, Eric Murray gets a turnover. And I'm just like, yo, why are we not shouting that dude out more? Like, the fact of the matter is, he was the first guy who got our turnover started this season. Like, folks forget that the Carolina Panthers interception for Foye Oluokun was a tip ball that should have been a pick from Eric Murray. He then gets the interception in the Cleveland Browns game on the overthrow that Dewey forced. I'm like, yo, bro, this is Eric Murray deserves his flowers. And I want to make sure I say that it's not just Devin Lloyd, it's all these guys flying around. But the real reason I want to give a quick shout out is because the Jaguars are 5-1 when they win the turnover differential. The only loss was a Cincinnati game that should have been a win because of a stupid pass interference call. They're the most backwards team. They're 2-0 when they lose the turnover differential because of some late game magic by Trevor Lawrence. And they're 2-3 when they tie in turnovers because they got wins against the Raiders, the Chargers, the Seahawks, Rams, and the second Texans. So win against the Raiders and Chargers and losses against the Seahawks, Rams, and the second Texas game. So for me, the biggest question is, will they continue to get turnovers? Like, is that going to continue when a team's trying to protect the ball and get the ball out on time that we've talked about all year? Mm-hmm. And the answer so far has been, no pass rush and a coin flip on the outcome of the games. But that's kind of where I'm landing right now. Is if I see a potential area, it's like, hey man, when you get a veteran quarterback that's gonna get the ball out on time, can y'all win if you're not getting those turnovers? If those turnovers dry up, it's going to be a real win on the margins type of game, dogfight type of game, like KC, Vegas, Arizona, and Houston on. I love talking about the win and getting the victory and everything else this week, and being able to talk about this after that victory and all these improvements. But it's encouraging to see the turnaround on pretty much no turnover worthy throws from Trevor Lawrence and this defense kind of getting everything back started. But just don't want to get too high or too low so that folks forget that the ball can bounce the other way on just one of these plays. And this is a different conversation. So I think that's where I say we're winning on the margins and losing on the margins. And that gets a little scary because that's what playoff football is going to really look like. And I'm just curious about what this is really going to be unless this offense can get things started, keep the ball in safe spots, and the defense also keep these turnovers going all season long. And that's rough. That's a rough ask.
No, it is. And I would remind the world at large, too, winning in the margins includes special teams where the Jags have been quite strong, to say the least.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
keep Parker Washington healthy. Mm-hmm.
Parker Washington. I don't think we're talking enough about LaQuint Allen in that role.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. LaQuint Allen. I mean, Ross Matisic. Devon Hamilton, your backup snapper. Yeah, Logan Cook and Cam Little, Pro Bowlers, should be Pro Bowlers.
Yes. The Jags, Walter Payton Manning, Walter Payton, a Man of the Year award, with his immortal words, "I will kill you." Anyways,
no. Robert says the unsung hero was Matt Dickerson. Earned himself some money this upcoming offseason. I enjoyed Matt Dickerson's film, but I would also say it's an interesting film to watch. He has some really big splash plays, and maybe we'll talk about it on Friday's Duval Dive actually. But no, in the game preview, because that's big at talking about the run game for the Jets, anyways. But no, Matt Dickerson had a good game after having a really bad first series. So that's why I say it's some real wide swings on. Like, he started off rough. And then it was like, all right, good, great fourth down stop, a few great stops in the run game, a good tackle on Jonathan Taylor. Like, all right, that was cool.
Preston calls me out mentioning penalties. Where am I at? Listen, and by the way, penalties are always the concern. Great point you make. What causes penalties though, right? Looking across from you, seeing somebody that you're worried about getting beat by in a good defensive line. So those things are interrelated. I would also submit too that since the Jets had the penalties in this past game that they normally did and still won, which by normally did, I mean, much like the rent, the number of penalties is too damn high, right? Like if as so long as that's still existing, I didn't bring the penalties up there. But also I say all that to say, Preston, you're right. Penalties, damn it. So, and that's a great point you make. Social Alky in the talks about how good Trevor looked mechanically. I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute.
Mechanically and rhythmically. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that both those are spot the hell on. I certainly won't knock this. Robert Kemp in the comments. I'm interested by this. And the sounds of the game right before that fumble, D-Ham told the defense, no big hits on Jonathan Taylor. Go for the legs and for the ball. and then for the ball, and look at the way he's tackled on that fumble. Yeah, that's a great call out.
Exactly what D-Ham said.
Yeah.
Man,
No, that's a great call out.
Hamilton's done well. I mean, he's done well into helping this defense be what it is like this season and stopping the run. And he also did pretty well in stopping the run last season. Like Dan Griffiths was singing his praises all this offseason when everybody was saying go and get a defensive tackle, saying you need a pass rushing second defensive tackle, which is fair because Hamilton is not much of that. He doesn't give you a lot in that area, but as a run stopper, he was top 10 in the league even last year. It's just they weren't in. They would get behind in late in games and teams will just kill him on volume. It was a volume stat, but on a per yard basis, he's always been pretty good. And I'm happy to see folks are finally getting on board with giving him a few of those flowers. But let's talk about this quarterback, man. We're 26 minutes in.
I want to confirm real quick. It sounds like you're glad Hamilton got his shot.
I am glad Hamilton. Wow. Jesus. Okay. That took me a second to land on. All right. All right. So we all know how everyone feels about Trevor Lawrence. If you've had one conversation with a Jaguars fan, you know exactly how they feel about Trevor Lawrence 2 years ago. You know exactly how they feel about Trevor Lawrence today. Like for the most part, that does not change because everybody's dug in trenches at this point. So I always want to consider all voices and all arguments within these, different lines in the sand. And at the end of the day, yes, everyone should be able to acknowledge that Trevor Lawrence has played well these past 2 weeks, full stop. I think we all can be in agreement there.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. We can all agree if we're being neutral. We can also acknowledge that throughout Trevor's career, we've seen streaks of dominant play from him for 2 to 5 game increments, with maybe a stinker thrown in against a bad team here and there out of nowhere, or a great game against a dominant team out of the blue. Like it's not a talent conversation with Trevor Lawrence. It's a consistency one. I don't think we're being unfair saying that on any side of the line, right? But the question from all corners of the fan base and the national media is, can he weeks in and week out be the guy we saw Sunday, or even reasonably close to it? Like, can we get more Trevor Lawrence versus the Colts and less Trevor Lawrence versus the Cardinals? Like in the words of my guy AC Williams, we need more Waffle House Willie. We need more Waffle House Willie and less William Trevor Lawrence as we head into the postseason play. Because Waffle House Willie, that's the dude that when you're down 10 points, he's gonna put out a cigarette at the barbecue grill with his flip flops and sandals, his socks and sandals, and he's gonna go out there and get you a W one way or another. But he also might throw 4 interceptions. Game manager is William Trevor Lawrence. Like that's the guy who's going to just manage his thing. He got great credit. He's a great father figure. All that. Like for the most part, we need more Waffle House Willie, less William Lawrence when it's time to win the games and everything's on the line. But for the most part, we also want to just protect the football. Like from that perspective, I get it. There's 2 sides of this, and you folks don't want to see all sides. If that makes sense, we need consistency.
First of all, I find interesting that your Waffle House Willie description makes me think more of Gardner Minshew than Trevor Lawrence. But okay, cool. I'm not knocking it.
That's actually very much so. It's a high level Gardner Minshew. It's Fitzmagic on. It's consistent Fitzmagic. Because if Fitzmagic could have stayed hot as he always like in his peak Fitzmagic time frame, he would be a Pat Mahomes basically. You know what I mean? Like he would be one of those just electric kind of quarterbacks, top of the league. That's what that is. So you say Fitzmagic or Gardner Minshew, but basically, Minshew.
Uncle Rico, right?
Yeah, Minshew is an exciting prospect who didn't have the skills, but he had the ability to kind of come and get a few games that you probably shouldn't have got. For the most part, I don't disagree. That might be what Trevor Lawrence is, the guy who's just going to wing this thing and just game it and find you that W when none exists. I'm okay with that. As long as he's also not the guy he can't, like they said a few weeks ago, he can't be the arsonist and the firefighter. You can't be the reason that you're in trouble and then trying to put out the fire. Like you can't be credited
for saving the orphanage when you started the fire. No, I understand.
Yeah, you can't be Homelander out here. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
Homelander. Oh my God, with that blonde hair, that's too perfect. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's it.
I got to bring out Social Alky in the comments. More Liam Cohen, Coach Trevor. Now. You can't use that excuse because I've already said coaching's been the problem. Was shot down on this very show by more than one person. But also, I find it interesting that Liam Cohen coached Trevor Lawrence. The most success falls under let it rip. That's a whole There's a whole slew of psychology that we still have yet to actually observe to how true that is or isn't. That's keep a pin in that one, Social Alky. That's going to come up more as not just the season, but seasons with Liam Cohen goes on, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, we hinted at some of it. I mean, you're just talking about whether or not like he's trying to figure out that sweet spot at the bye week of not being too cautious, because sometimes, like I said earlier, being too cautious will result in you still having an interception every so often because your receivers are in the wrong spot or whatever else. And now all that results in is you also don't even have the touchdowns to match because you're being too cautious. You don't have the 50-50 plays, the deep balls and anything down the field. But you still have that one turnover. You can't win with a 0 touchdown, 1 turnover game, or a 0 touchdown or 1 touchdown, 2 turnover game. You can win with 4 touchdowns and 2 INTs, though. So, in a lot of ways, sometimes you're going to have to throw those picks. But being the guy who's letting it rip, just so the turnovers are going to come with the touchdowns. But as long as they're paired with the touchdowns, you'll probably be all right because you have a higher ceiling on your ability to kind of make those touchdown throws, if that makes sense.
And by the way, I see you guys talking about it in the comments. I haven't talked about Brenton Strange yet because, simply put, we all know by now he's that guy. Okay, I've made enough fun about Ben Troop complaining about Evan Ingram and all that. Travis has plenty of dunks on him already just because he's a former Titans player. Even I mean, there's nothing strange about us propping Brenton. There you go.
I don't think Brenton Strange is lacking accolades. I don't think Brenton Strange is lacking.
Not anymore.
Attention.
He's not. Right.
Yeah. I don't think he's lacking compliments and everyone saying that the run game works because of him. But I also think because people are so excited, we're getting too high on why the run game. Like Strange is the offensive glue is probably fair, but also over exaggerated. And I hate to say that because it's a team sport with 11 people. And we can talk about it Friday. I'll bring some film to the conversation. You can bring your popcorn. It's fine. Because I want to say, like, the run game has been better with Strange on the field because Strange is so dang dominant. But also the run game is what it is partially because of the opponents. Like, it can be both things. Like, he's still dominant, but he's not the reason the run game is working, if that makes sense. He can just be a cog in the machine.
Or as I think it's in, Strange is part of the equation. Sure.
Part of the equation.
100%.
That's it.
That's it. I think if you're solving for 2x, where there are other variables like Y, Z, and Q, then yeah, that's an accurate take for all you algebra. I'm going full IT nerd. Good algebra. God. Marvel references, algebra references. Good God, Jesus.
And I actually like Marvel, but you asking me questions about like sensitive looking heroes, and I'm like, I don't know nothing about this, bro. I don't have that name in my bank.
Listen, it's the whole thing.
We've been talking about the playoffs, and we've been avoiding it as long as we probably could, but we're
playoffs
at this point. Playoffs is a real thing at this point.
Wait, am I allowed to bring up Jim Morris Sr. on a Jaguars podcast as a former Colts coach? Now that's awkward, isn't it? Like,
I don't think it matters. I mean, is he alive still? I don't even know. I haven't seen him in forever.
I know his son is. He's still coaching.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Anyways, shall we continue?
All right, playoffs. Anyways, man, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are third in the AFC behind the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. And with the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs still out there, lurking. I mean, also with the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens. You got the Houston Texans lurking one game back with the Colts, and the loss of Daniel Jones bringing NFL Nick Cannon out of retirement is
NFL Nick Cannon.
It's gonna be crazy, bro. It's gonna be crazy. We had a hilarious conversation earlier in the media room, just talking about like Phillip Rivers and his 10 kids, and one of his children being around the same age as Riley Leonard. And I'm just like, yo, man, that's color swap Nick Cannon on AARP. Like, that's all that is. And if you told me you can give me the bag to get off the couch with my 10 kids, yeah, I'll do that. And no training camp. Just take the bag. Is the check cashing? Yes, Lord, I'm getting off this couch. Come on.
Look here. I find it ironic that you called Phillip Rivers the white Nick Cannon, when in fact the Colts. That'll be wild and out. Boom! Let's go.
Wow. Bruh. Anyways, in non-geriatric news, yes, in non-old
It's
people news.
geriatric suddenly. It's still on TikTok. Anyway.
No. Phillip Rivers, the geriatric, sir.
Old Man Rivers.
That's
I know.
what
It's a joke. It's
yeah,
a joke.
old man Rivers. The Texans also claimed former Jaguars running back Cody Schrader off waivers after the Jaguars waived him on Saturday. And I saw a lot of people in their feelings about that one, mainly because obviously you're taking a Jacksonville Jaguar on your roster when you're probably exactly. It's fine. You're trying to get information, but at the same time, it could be. But Nick Caley, offensive coordinator for the Texans, he did coach Schrader in LA last year. They did lose Nick Chubb with a rib injury that he might be out this week, like potentially, but also he could be building. Yeah, social actor says, "Yeah, don't be a snitch, Cody." Like that's it.
That's what I was laughing at was the Christmas
don't be a
money
snitch,
for
Cody.
Rivers. But yeah, don't
was
be a
it
snitch,
Colts
Cody.
could have gone and got Cam? Anyone but Grandpa? Christmas money for the Rivers family. But now, man, if the playoffs ended today, Jacksonville Jaguars.
You mean if the season
if the season ended today, the Jacksonville Jaguars would host the Buffalo Bills in Jacksonville. That sounds very, very, very familiar for those of you who may be too young to remember 2018 rematch. Jaguars won 10-6. I believe it was what was that? Nate the Peterman was the quarterback. Nate Peterman was throwing all these picks to Jalen Ramsey to end the game. Yeah, that is what I don't think any Buffalo Bills fans want. They have not had a great recent history against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Look at you just glossing right over the politics, okay? Why are you showing on Josh Allen crime? That's what we want to talk about when it comes to the Bills, my guy. I'm just saying.
Because I'm not even sure which one's the good Josh Allen anymore. Like, it was always an up and down thing with Josh Allen. The quarterback was elite prospect. And then you had the big year for Josh Allen with the 17.5 sacks. And now I'm just like, which one is the elite Josh Allen? Would they please stand up? Because I don't know which one's good and bad depending on the year. It really is like a roller coaster ride right now. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm just curious about if the Jaguars had to play against the Buffalo Bills, how would you feel about them as an opponent? Let's start there.
I mean, certainly they're the most dangerous opponent in the playoff stretch for the AFC right now in the Buffalo Bills, right? And listen,
because of the quarterback,
yes. And listen, do you take the Pats seriously yet? Because I sure as hell don't. And by the way, thank you, Mike Vrabel, for proving to the exact degree the Titans were dumb to fire you. And also, on behalf of Duval, as a non-card carrying member of the Devout, I will still say I'm pretty sure Jags fans are still thanking you for showing off the Titans being that dumb in the form of regular wins against the same aforementioned franchise nonetheless. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
No, Robert says, Duval legend Nathan Peterman. His mom is a customer of mine. Super nice lady. Oh, shout out Miss Peterman.
Yeah, her son gave you a playoff victory. You got some dough as a customer. Hey, it works out, man.
Jeff says it was actually Tyrod Taylor. He got hurt and Peterman came in and Ramsey picked him off. It was 2017. Yes, 2017 season. The 2018 is when the playoff game actually happened. Yeah, so we're in agreement.
Jeff Sanger in the building being actually guy, and we appreciate the correction.
And now we're playing potentially playing against the same Tyrod Taylor New York Jets. It's fun how things just come full circle because we're old. So there are a few scenarios remaining on where this kind of season can land, and I want to kind of walk through that with you, sir, if you didn't mind.
No, please.
So this is the remaining schedule for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next 4 games are the Jets, the Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Tennessee Titans, where the Houston Texans have Arizona, Las Vegas, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Phillip Rivers-led Indianapolis Colts. So maybe the last game of the season they'll have a little bit more. They'll be a little bit stronger. What team that will be? But you probably have to assume that the Texans are going to win at least 3 of those games realistically, probably.
Maybe
maybe all of them. So if the Jags finish 13-4, it's no competition. They're division champs. The Jags could even lose to the Jets next week, but if they beat the Broncos, Colts, and Titans, they still win the AFC South. And if both Jacksonville and Houston end the year at 12-5, the Jaguars just can't lose either divisional game. They would have to beat the Colts and the Titans, and they would still win the AFC South. So that's kind of like the rules of how this is working out. Basically, if the Jags win 3 of the next 4, but that loss is to the Bills, so they beat the Jets, Colts, and Titans, Houston wins the AFC South by going 4-4. That's the way that they would be. It's a weird. The Jaguars have their own destiny
because of that fourth quarter, fatefully a few weeks ago. Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah. So that's kind of the way that it will work. Like, if you want to hold your destiny, then you need to win 3 of these 4 games while also beating the Broncos, at least. And realistically, if you win 4-4, this is an easy conversation. Just handle business and you're good to go.
Yeah, I will reserve my judgment on what I think is going to happen in the Broncos game until that appropriate week. But yeah, and also, hey, listen, the Jets are a thing. Go Chargers, says Social Alki. Here's the thing. As somebody who's previously done enough study on the Chargers lately, I think the Texans going to whoop them. I really do. There's just nothing left to protect Justin Herbert, one-time MVP candidate Justin Herbert. I'm not even sure he'll make it to that game as we're standing anyway. And it's highly possible the Houston Texans are crushing Trey Lance at quarterback at the end of the day. So yeah, I am not confident. If we're talking from the Jags perspective, I am not confident in the Chargers doing their job to protect Everbank.
Oh no, yeah, you're not going to depend on anybody else, so you have to control it because you can't depend on the Chargers. If they surprise you, great, but you can't depend on that at the end of the day. And Robert says Josh Allen scares him more than Mahomes in that offense. Allen just don't give a, and he feel like Mahomes doesn't elevate his lackluster wide receiver corps like Allen does.
What he's saying on paper makes sense, but look at the history, man. That's not how that's played out.
Right, Bobby. I always say Baba Yaga, quarterback at Baba Yaga. I don't trust either one of them. They both are mutants. But between the two of them this season, I'm probably going to say like I don't think I've ever actually said this out loud, but I think I might actually be agreeing with Robert right now.
I'm not,
because I never thought about it. I never thought about it with Josh Allen specifically compared to Pat Mahomes and those teams. And I don't know. That's a hard one because I think the Bills' defense is probably actually no. Why Piero saying it? The Bills' defense is pretty weak. The run game is pretty bad. Like, yeah, I think that actually might be it. The Bills' defense being weaker than the Chiefs' defense might be the tiebreaker for me because I think they're actually very close.
Well, that's fair. Where I would say is Josh Allen has lost games for his team this season. That hasn't happened as much with Patrick LaVon Mahomes II. And I'm more confident in this D-line, in this pass rush, and pressures man putting Josh Allen in a position to lose a game than I am them flustering Patrick LaVon Mahomes II and praying somebody else makes a mistake, be it Travis Michael Kelce, being it Butker on the kick, whatever. Now, granted, the latter isn't an option anymore, I'm fairly certain. So, that's a separate conversation, of course. But the point made that both defenses are weaker, I think, is the thing that makes them both vulnerable regardless.
I don't have confidence in the pass rush at all to get home if we're talking without blitzing.
I didn't say get home. I said force mistakes. And listen,
okay,
let me be clear.
You've seen the Devin Lloyd pick of Pat Mahomes, or he caught him slipping a little bit. So I got you
exactly. That's all you need to force mistakes is pressures, man.
All right, yeah. So again, I guess people must be recent Jaguar fans because it says the only team I'm worried about is NFC teams. We can beat any team in the AFC. You must be new here, bro. I love the engagement, but no. You should be nervous of every team because if this team is playing with discipline, if this team's not playing penalty free, if they're dropping balls or if they're getting those pre-snap penalties or whatever else, any team can beat this Jacksonville Jaguars team. We just went through a list of games that they lost or won by one possession. They beat the Chiefs, but they also lost Cincinnati. They beat the brakes off the Chargers, but then they lose against the Houston Texans with a 19-point lead. They barely beat the Raiders after the bye week. They, beat the Arizona Cardinals in a one-possession game. Like, I'm not trying to get too high or too low. I'm just being real about what it is. Yeah. Don't get so high that you miss the fact that this is still the NFL. This is still a very a very level league across like most of the teams that win these one possession games. You can't just not worry about the AFC.
And I feel like I have to address this quickly because Juan Carruthers Jr. Sorry, Ron Carruthers Jr. It's hard to read when it's all together. Like Juan Carruthers Jr. 6426 says, "I don't understand the Houston hype. We should have swept them." It's not Houston hype per se. It's that D line, and they match up particularly well against the Jags, such that it is. Do I think the Texans are sliced bread? No. Do I think they're particularly great? No. Is Travis a genius for calling the sophomore slump of CJ Stroud? Hell, basically last year. Yes. So, like I don't get it twisted.
I'm AFC South 2 of 2 right now. I called the CJ Stroud slump 6 months before everybody else was even thinking about it. And I also called the Indianapolis Colts. And obviously they got hurt in the first time, the worst position. But I said it was going to be a 10-win team, and now I might fail that because of his injury. But
nobody called your take crackheady when I said the Jags win the division.
That's true. You did call the Jags winning in the division, and I was just like, yo, that was your crackheadiest take, and you landed it. I mean, somehow
there's still a chance. That's exactly right.
Yeah, like a good neighbor, you landed that bad boy.
I don't start calling me Jake. I don't need a red shirt. Anyways, man, listen. Man, we could have done a morning show with this topic for sure.
At this point, man.
Yeah. And I think this is a good point to end on. Like we talked about the positive, and I think Robert Kemp. I got to say last names for Robert because apparently we've got a lot of Roberts who are divers, and we're grateful for all of them. Don't get it twisted there. But listen, Jags still haven't mastered not beating ourselves. Penalties, Preston, right? Even in the blowout wins, we still have a turnover and several penalties in those 3 blowouts. True words, true statement, and that's a good way to assess this team. But the positive also is, Travis, it means they haven't played their best football yet, and there's still that opportunity that they do it in the postseason.
You got it. I mean, that's it. Like, there's still growth to be made. Again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2024, they struggled with penalties early on, and they got it right. Honestly, they got it right around their bye week. Jaguars they've been a little up and down. They've had some games where they've been reasonably fine with penalties, but then they're up and down. But again, that's the DNA of a young team. And I hate calling teams young when these are grown men, but let's be real. Like they are a young team. Yeah. They are a young team with a first-year head coach. And almost every time you have a team that has major penalties, they're all first-year coaches. Like I believe the 3 of the top 5 most penalized teams this year are all first-year head coaches. It's just folks getting used to these things, unfortunately. So they are up and down. They're getting better after the bye. They still do have games where they struggle, like most recently. But yeah, you're looking for those guys to get it right. They got the wristband with Trevor to help with the pre-snap penalties a little bit. And I mean, you got Jacoby Myers having his first drop, unfortunately, with the Jaguars. I mean, for a guy who doesn't drop the ball, but it also was pouring, so you kind of somewhat understand that. You got Bayshaw Tootin, who has his first 2 fumbles of the season, only lost 1. But again, it was also pouring rain, so knock on wood, you're hoping that that's not the case moving forward on a regular, Sunday afternoon. But nevertheless, like that's where it is. They got to clean up all these things, and you're just fortunate to be having these conversations after a victory. And maybe in the playoffs, you'll see the best version of these Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exactly. That's what you Duval Divers and Duval Devout can hope for. But the other thing that you can hope for that I can't get, Friday's preview. Travis D. Holmes, tell the world where you can be found.
Well, I can be found on NFL.com/Pro Bowl, because that's what y'all need to be finding yourselves is, hey, vote for these Jaguars and vote again, man. Like there's no limitation where you can only vote one time. So yeah, you got so far 2 of the top players. You got Eric Armstead and you got Cam Little. One guy who was great in San Francisco, to your original point last week, and one guy who made a 70-yard field goal in the preseason and then set the NFL record for longest kicks, to both be top 5, to be an alternate in the Pro Bowl. We got to do better. We got to vote more. Like the fan voting session has got to, y'all here, you got to go up another level.
You get on my case, tell me I took too long. Listen, it's been very simple. I've narrowed it down to this. If you wear teal, make your appeal. Vote for the damn Pro Bowl. Moving on.
Barrow said it right, man. Devin Lloyd not being in the Pro Bowl is wild, but I understand folks don't look at when they look at the raw numbers, they don't realize that he didn't play in some games. Like I get why that is the case. PT phone home. Hey, I voted. Hey man, stop part-time in this. I don't care if you voted once, vote 13,000 times.
Vote early, vote often, fools.
What the Bible say, 7 times 7 times 7, whatever that number is. Yeah, vote that many times. Keep it going, bro. So yeah, you can find me on bigcatcountry.com. Please don't take a look at the Cole Van Lanen versus Walker Little article on the site. Let us know what team you fall in, whether or not the Cole Van Lanen has earned that left tackle role, or whether or not Walker Little, the incumbent, should stay at the role once he is back and fully healthy. But also, Duval Dive. If you listen to the sound of my voice, please click that like button. Don't leave the stream without clicking like, please. I will find you. I will find you. I promise. No. Like button. If you're listening to on the audio side, please review and rate us. We appreciate you guys. Send us any questions you have. We're always doing mailbags, and obviously you guys already know if you have a great comment, we'll even do a whole segment or an episode about it. So just keep it locked in. We love you guys, and please let them know where you can be found, sir.
Man, listen, apparently I could be found talking to Black Liam Neeson. I will find you. Good God, man. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Ness.
I know people that rob people. I promise.
I'm Kyle Ness, the student of the game. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the black and gold banneret covering UCF football and basketball, as well as my work covering the Orlando Magic and all that stuff there too. My work is, of course, first and foremost, mostly with you Duval divers who once again came out in droves and made me feel good about life, doing stuff with you. There are two things that used to trigger the exaggeration alert that did not. One, Jags are making the playoffs. No exaggeration alert. My love for you guys. Also, no exaggeration alert anymore. Boom. Travis understands. He knows what it is. Y'all came out. Y'all had a great night commenting with us once again. Do it next time. So yeah, thank you once again, all y'all. Whether you celebrate Duval or not, thanks for being in the chat. Thank you, personal champion, for helping me get through this here on these streams. And of course, till next time, everyone, class dismissed.